Monday morning, October 13th, and Britain wakes up to headlines that swing from royal chestnuts to Middle Eastern ceasefires. Sounds absurd? Welcome to 2025, where King Charles saves a tournament with tree nuts while the world holds its breath over Gaza. I'm Andrew Meet Rich, and we're diving into what the British press is saying today, because someone needs to connect these dots for you. I spent years inside one of the biggest media outlets you've ever heard of, watching editors twist reality to fit whatever narrative kept advertisers happy. I walked away from that. Now I'm on my own, answering to nobody but you, and I'm going to tell you what's actually happening behind these headlines. And if you're getting value from this, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you really want to support independent journalism that doesn't bow to corporate interests, consider becoming a sponsor. It's people like you who make this possible, and I mean that. Now let's get into it. So here's where we start, and I'm not joking. King Charles just saved the World Conquer Championships. Yes, you heard that right. The Daily Star leads with this gem. Headline reads, King and Conqueror of Conkers, a play on words that's so British it hurts. Apparently there was a nationwide shortage of horse chestnuts, those shiny brown nuts kids use to play conkers, threading them on string and smashing them together until one breaks. It's a whole thing in Britain, been going on since 1965, and they hold an actual world championship every year. But this year, disaster loomed. Collectors couldn't find enough large, competition-quality chestnuts. The tournament organizers were panicking, thinking they might have to cancel the 60th anniversary event. Then Windsor Castle swoops in with a package of 300 premium-quality conkers from the royal grounds. St. John Burkett, one of the committee members, says they were fantastic chestnuts, the kind that really ensured the championship could go ahead. He even joked that they like to imagine King Charles himself picked at least a few of them, wandering around Windsor picking up chestnuts like it's a weekend hobby. And here's the kicker, they've reserved those royal conkers specifically for the finals. So by default, a conker from Windsor will win the championship. It's quintessentially British, absurd and charming in equal measure. And honestly, in a world full of chaos, maybe we need more stories about monarchs saving nut-based sporting events. The tournament happened over the weekend in Southwick, Northamptonshire, drew about 2,000 spectators. And guess what? Last year's winner got accused of using a steel conker. He was cleared, but still, there's controversy even in conker championships. Only in Britain, folks. Now let's pivot from chestnuts to something far heavier, Gaza. Multiple British newspapers, the Metro, Times, Daily Mail, Guardian, Telegraph, all leading with the same story this Monday, families waiting in anguish for their loved ones to return home. The Metro's headline, The Day They Feared Would Never Come. It's referring to the hostage release that's supposed to happen today, Monday, as part of this fragile ceasefire deal between Israel and those militant groups in Gaza. Hamas confirmed they're ready to start releasing the remaining hostages, reportedly 20 people still alive, in the first phase of this ceasefire plan. According to the Times, these individuals spent their last hours in captivity over the weekend, and now the world waits to see if this actually happens. The Guardian reports that once freed, these hostages will be taken to a military base to reunite with families, or straight to hospitals if they need medical attention. There's this mixture of hope and dread in these reports. Families who've been waiting for 2 years, not knowing if their loved ones were even still alive, now told they'll be home within hours. But here's where it gets complicated, and we need to talk about this carefully. The ceasefire framework, brokered largely by the United States with Egyptian and Qatari mediation, calls for a phased approach. First phase, release the hostages, pause the fighting, allow humanitarian aid to flow into Gaza. Sounds straightforward, right? Except nothing in the Middle East is ever straightforward. The Daily Telegraph shows Donald Trump giving a thumbs up as he boards Air Force One heading to Israel. The Mail reports he's flying to Egypt for what they're calling a historic summit on Gaza. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. I'm not a Trump admirer, but I'm also not going to pretend I know his motivations better than he does. What I can say is this: the timing here raises questions. Trump's pushing this peace plan hard. He's claimed credit for brokering the deal, and he's made it clear he expects results fast. He said the remaining hostages should be out by Monday or Tuesday. That's today or tomorrow. But is this really peace, or is it just a pause before the next round? The Telegraph also mentions something that barely gets attention in other papers: Britain's growing dependency on Chinese debt. They're warning that the UK risks falling into what they call a Chinese debt trap, relying too heavily on borrowing from Beijing. It's buried under the Gaza headlines, but it matters. When you owe someone money, especially a geopolitical rival, you lose leverage. Britain's economic vulnerability to China is not a small issue. It's just not as emotionally gripping as hostages coming home, so it gets pushed to the side. Think about what I just said and let me know in the comments if you've noticed how economic stories get buried under human interest angles. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. We've got a lot more to unpack here. Meanwhile, in sports and celebrity news, the sun goes for Marcus Rashford, the footballer. His dream home construction project has hit delays and it could cost him around £15 million. 15 million. Let that sink in. Most people will never see that kind of money in their lifetime, and for Rashford, it's just a delay on a house build. I'm not saying he doesn't deserve his wealth. Professional athletes work incredibly hard, but it does highlight the absurd wealth gap in modern society. While families in Gaza are scrambling for survival, a Premier League player is worried about his mansion delays. It's not Rashford's fault, it's just the world we live in, where these stories exist side by side in the same newspapers. Daily Express takes a different route, focusing on medical news. They're reporting on a revolutionary new MRI procedure that could dramatically improve dementia diagnosis rates. This is actually significant. Early detection of dementia can change treatment outcomes, give families time to prepare, potentially slow progression. It's the kind of story that deserves more attention than it gets, but it's competing with hostages, footballers, and royal conkers. Now, the Financial Times, always focused on money, leads with a story about Wall Street investment banks potentially raking in over $9 billion. That's about £6.7 billion in the third quarter of this year. That would be the first time since 2021 they've hit those numbers. Analysts are optimistic, which means the financial sector is roaring back. But here's what they don't say loud enough. While ordinary people are struggling with inflation, cost of living crises, stagnant wages, the banking sector that caused so much damage in 2008 is back to posting record profits. The system hasn't changed, it's just recovered enough to start extracting wealth again. Morningstar, which leans far left politically, shows massive pro-Palestine demonstrations that swept through London and other UK cities over the weekend. Thousands of people marching with flags and banners, demanding an end to occupation, recognition of Palestinian rights, and justice for what they view as systematic oppression. The headline reads, "Free Palestine is our ultimate goal." These protests happened in London, Manchester, Glasgow, cities across Britain. It shows the level of public sentiment, especially among younger Britons who see the situation in Gaza very differently than their government does. And here's where things get thorny, politically speaking. The British government, like most Western governments, has been cautious, trying to balance support for Israel's right to defend itself with concern over humanitarian conditions in Gaza. But the public, or at least a very vocal portion of it, isn't buying that balance anymore. They see destruction, they see loss of life on a massive scale, and they want their government to take a stronger stance. Whether you agree with that position or not, it's undeniable that there's a growing rift between official policy and public opinion, especially among younger demographics. So what do all these stories add up to? A world in flux, where trivial and tragic sit side by side in the morning papers. King Charles saves a conker tournament while families in Gaza wait for loved ones. A footballer worries about mansion delays while Wall Street counts billions. Medical breakthroughs offer hope for dementia patients while protesters demand justice for Palestinians. It's chaotic, contradictory, and deeply human. What strikes me most about today's press review is the reminder that life doesn't pause for tragedy. The world keeps spinning. People keep living their lives, pursuing their interests, even as others endure unimaginable suffering. That's not callousness, it's just reality. But it does raise questions about what we choose to focus on, what we choose to care about, and whether we're paying attention to the stories that actually matter. The hostage release, if it happens today, will be a moment of relief for families who've been living a nightmare for 2 years. But it's also just the first phase of a plan that could easily fall apart. Trump can fly to Egypt, shake hands, sign papers, and claim victory. But will it hold? The Financial Times can celebrate Wall Street's profits, but are those gains built on anything sustainable, or are we just inflating another bubble? Britain can worry about Chinese debt, but will they actually do anything about it, or just keep borrowing because it's easier than making tough choices? These are the questions that don't get asked enough, and that's exactly why I left mainstream media. They want headlines that sell, narratives that fit, stories that don't make advertisers uncomfortable. I want truth. messy, and complicated as it is. Let me quickly recap what we've covered here, because it's been a lot. King Charles saved the World Conquer Championships by donating 300 royal chestnuts from Windsor, ensuring a beloved British tradition could continue. The Gaza ceasefire is holding, at least for now, with 20 hostages expected to be released today in the first phase of a complex peace plan. Trump is heading to Egypt and Israel, pushing this deal as a major diplomatic victory. Britain faces warnings about Chinese debt dependency, a story buried under more dramatic headlines. Marcus Rashford's mansion project faces costly delays. Wall Street banks are posting near-record profits again. A new MRI procedure could revolutionize dementia diagnosis. And thousands march through British cities demanding Palestinian rights and an end to occupation. Each of these stories tells you something about the world we're living in right now, the priorities, the contradictions, the hopes, and the cynicism. If you found this breakdown valuable, do me a favor, hit that like button. It actually helps more people see this content. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we do this every day, cutting through the noise to get to what matters. And if you really want to support independent journalism, consider becoming a channel sponsor. No corporate overlords here, just you and me trying to make sense of this world together. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.